Welcome, everybody. How's it going? I'm not sure if we're going to get a lot of people on the stream tonight. I did say 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, but for some reason, when I scheduled it in my schedule, I did change the time. Um, I did change the time for my live stream back to 7 o'clock Central Time, but I guess when it sent out the alerts, um, my software automatically adjusts. So I was thinking I'm not on Central Time. I'm on Mountain Time because we don't change. Like I've told you before, we don't change. Hey, Henry, we don't change time zones. I'm daylight savings time. That was something that went into effect, I think, last year. The border still does, but we don't. So everyone is every when you fall forward now in the fall, I'm going to be on the same time as Central Standard Time, but I'm at now on Mountain Time, kind of, sort of, in a sense, because we didn't change time. And I put 7 o'clock, thinking, but I've had that issue before. I guess I'm getting on an age. Today, I'm doing good, Texas Refugee. We're having a great time. I had a busy weekend this weekend. I had a lot of social events this weekend, so I had to move my live stream to today. Today, I'm going to discuss, and I'm just going to go over my last video about Fintech. This kind of goes in back to the dollar app. I know it seemed like I got this obsession with the dollar app, but it's not the dollar app. It's these types of apps in general. There's another app that came up that offers similar services minus the cryptocurrency, but it's Koba AI. So today, what I'm going to do is kind of, for all of you that are probably going to watch this later, I'm going to explain what Fintech is. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. But the reason why I'm going over Fintech today, the reason why I'm going over the Fintech world today is because you're going to start seeing a lot of this now. The dollar app was kind of the first app that came out that was targeting expats. It also targets Mexican citizens that want to use a credit card in the United States. They can put money in it, but it's mostly targeting expats, or as you would say, as I would say, or other people would say, immigrants or expats, whatever you want to call it. But they're basically people that are overseas that want an account that they can deposit money in the U.S. And from the U.S. be able to access their funds here, or transfer money from their U.S. bank account to your Mexican bank account. There's several services that do this. That Wise is kind of probably the hey, Stephanie, how's it going? Wise is probably the most popular one. But I did find out some things about Wise that we're going to go over tonight that may actually make you think about using another service. But the dollar app was the first one that basically came up with this idea of let's make it cheaper and easier for expats, but through this cryptocurrency idea, make it easier and cheaper for people to be able to transfer money to their Mexican bank account. Now, all of this, and then later on, there's another one that just popped up called Koba.ai that was brought to my attention by one of the viewers, and you're going to start seeing this. But what I'm going to explain to you is that Wise, even Wise, falls in Wise, it even falls in this category too. Okay, these are called Fintech apps. Fintech stands for financial technology. So, what is financial technology, or Fintech? Fintech are actually financial apps that allow you to do your financial business. It could be anything from paying your bills. I think a Fintech app can be like the Cash App in the United States. Most people are familiar with the Cash App. These are apps that enable you to maybe pay your bills, transfer money to someone else. Not only transfer money to someone else, transfer money to Mexico. That's what Wise does. That's what the Dollar app does. That's one of the functions of the Dollar app. And the Dollar app also has some, the Dollar app has some catch to it. They're using cryptocurrency. Now, here's the thing. The Dollar app is using cryptocurrency because they don't operate in the United States. They don't have offices in the United States. They're not licensed money remitters in the United States. So what they do is say, you're buying crypto, and even nobody, I've even done a lot of research on it. There is no way of actually transferring your US. Heaven knows if you're really buying USDC. They don't tell you. It tells you on the app that you own this much USDC. But instead of transferring cash or wiring cash, you're wiring cryptocurrency to Mexico. And then the cryptocurrency gets converted and put into your Mexican bank account. Now, remember, this is what they're telling you. Okay, doesn't mean that's what's happening. As I said, they do have partnerships. The Dollar app and Kobe AI have partnerships with different banks. And there's a lot of things that over the years that I worked in federal law enforcement, I specialize in financial investigations. A lot of these apps were starting when I was doing financial investigations. Some of these apps were actually used for money laundering because they're not regulated. This is kind of the wild, wild west of these kinds of apps. Now, here's the thing. If you're not for regulation, I'm not here to be political about regulation or deregulation or what they should regulate or what they shouldn't regulate. But because these apps aren't regulated, your money's not insured. Okay. For example, the FDIC insures banks. Why? Because they actually comply with certain regulations in the United States, which enables them to get FDIC insurance. So when your money gets lost or when the bank goes under, your money is insured by the federal government. Okay. With the Fintech apps, what you need to understand is that the app is just a middleman. Okay. So when you sign up for an app like the Dollar app, which we're going to go into, or you sign up for Kobe AI, you're signing up to a third-party business that basically acts as a middleman. They don't ever touch your money. The Dollar app doesn't touch well, unless they steal it, of course. They touch your money as far as whatever fees they charge. Or some of these businesses end up walking away and stealing all the money. So it all depends. But what the purpose I want to bring across is that they're middlemen. They're not at the bank. Okay, and this is how they get away from banking regulations. They partner with third parties. For example, Dollar app, they were partnering with Synapse, which went bankrupt. They're no longer with Synapse. I find out who they're with now. They're with a service called Paymentology. And it's very interesting because this service, Paymentology, is a service operating out of the UK. When I looked at their clients, most of their clients are out of Asia, China, Hong Kong, and most of their major clients are Asian countries. What they're doing servicing Mexico, I have no idea, but that's another red flag that you might want to look at with the Dollar app. But what they do, and they're partnered with a bank in the United States. So both Kobe AI and actually the Dollar app, Synapse, when they were partnering with Synapse, it was through Evolve Bank. But Evolve Bank had a lot of problems. They had a data breach as of this real close to the beginning of this year. Actually, a little further into this year, but real close to the beginning of this year. They had a major data breach. So if you use the Dollar app at any time before the Dollar app changed their provider, your data is out in the wild. Now, here's the thing. They changed to another bank called Community Savings Bank and Trust. You go to their Trustpilot score. They've had numerous complaints, but this community bank is also the same bank that actually services Wise. Is that a good thing? Maybe it's a good thing because they service Wise. You might say, okay, so the Dollar app is good. No, actually, this community savings bank has actually had several actions against them by the FDIC. They've actually they got out of it in 2022. They have a 2.0 trust pilot score. They're very famous for doing banking services for Fintech. There's a lot of concerns as to their regulatory, actually fraud concerns with this bank. So when I try to warn you about using these, now here's the thing. If you go onto the Coba AI site, and I'm going to take you onto it right now, but if you go onto the Coba AI site, it sounds all great. They even tell you that your money's insured by the FDIC, right? Yeah, your money is insured by the FDIC, but here's the catch. I'm going to move over. Coba, and let me put it in English so that you guys can, I know some of you speak Spanish, but I'm going to put it in English. Hold on right here for a second here. Hold on, I got to move this little window over here. I'm going to put it in it. Okay. Your money is FDIC insured, but it's insured with the bank. Okay. It's not insured to you. And there's even a disclaimer here. Coba AI is a financial technology company, not an FDI-insured depository institution. Banking services provided by Bangor Savings Bank, member FDIC. FDIC insurance coverage protects against the failure of an FDIC-insured depository institution. Pass-through FDIC insurance coverage is subject to certain conditions. If you go down here, they tell you that it's FDIC insured. They're not lying to you, okay? But what the catch to this is, hey, Denise, how's it going? What the catch to all of this is that even though they say they're FDIC insured, they're misleading you. They're not lying. They're misleading you into thinking that your money is safe. Okay. What happens if the bank goes bankrupt? This is what happened with Synapse. Okay. When Synapse went bankrupt, the money was insured with the bank, but the company Synapse went bankrupt. So the money stayed with the bank. The bank didn't go bankrupt. The bank has to go bankrupt, not the company that is giving you the service. So, for example, if Coba AI goes bankrupt tomorrow, even though your money is FDIC insured, it's insured with the bank. Now, if Bangor Savings goes broke, then Coba AI can actually get your money back they can act as your agent to get your money back. But here's the thing. Bangor Savings is a legitimate bank. So the odds of them going under before Coba AI going under is 0 to probably maybe the odds of winning the lottery. Not many banks go under. So, and even then, if this bank goes under and they go into bankruptcy, your funds are going to be frozen until they figure out who these funds belong to. And actually, technically, they belong to Coba AI because they're the ones that are actually. So then they'll go to Coba AI and say, we need to see your balance sheet. If Coba AI doesn't have your information and how much you had deposited, your money's gone. It's missing. It's no longer there. So that's what is the danger of using fintech apps. There was a very popular service called BlockFi. Same thing. They offered a savings account. You even get interest. They offered a checking account, kind of a checking account, but it was a checking account where you could pay your bills. They had a credit card, and that was all great and dandy, but they went bankrupt. A bunch of people lost their money. Okay, so you need to understand the risks involved. One of the things that I don't appreciate about like Coba AI and Dollar Apps is they've reached out. Their main two places where they focus on marketing is influencers, which is Dollar App, which was Kurupal and a couple of other. And I got to say this, Kurupal did take his video down, but guess what he did? He waited till things cooled down And then everybody that made negative comments and they even posted links to my video, what do you think? He deleted all those comments and he put the videos back up. That's very irresponsible of YouTubers to do this, okay? This is people's financial being, okay? Not only that, these fintech apps are very, go into, if any of you follow financial websites or financial gurus, they call them, they're promoting these financial products all the time, all the time. So what you need to understand is that, and also the second most popular is Facebook, through the Facebook ads. So I've already seen, well, probably because I Googled Kobe AI or whatever in my phone, and now Kobe AI comes up as far as my, as far as ads, okay? So you need to understand this. Now, here's the thing. I'm not here to tell you not to use these apps, but you need to be very judicious, okay? And I give up on, I already called out what other YouTubers are doing. If people don't want to listen, that's not my problem. If you don't want to listen and tomorrow you lose all your money, that's not my problem. My goal is to give you the right information, to give you information to be able to use these apps. Let's say I want to use the app. I wouldn't use it personally, but if I want to use the app, I'm only going to put money. Somebody made a comment, said, hey, what's wrong with the dollar app? I only use it to pay bills and I don't ever have more than $200 in it. Okay, well, that person, I guess, can lose $200. But if you go in there and put $10,000 because you want a $10,000 credit card that works in Mexico, the problem is if they ever go under, you lose $10,000. Or maybe that person that only puts $200 is on a Social Security check of $1,500. And if they're on a Social Security check of $1,500, $200 is a lot of money. Maybe $200 isn't a lot of money to me or someone else or anybody else, but for some people, $200 is a lot. And these YouTubers, and yes, I do get emotional and I do get angry. And I'm sorry, may seem like I got a beef against Kuru Paul, but I don't. What I got a beef against is somebody who's ex-law enforcement and should know better. And that's what I have a beef with. And I don't have a beef with any of the other YouTubers that are doing this. They get paid to do it. And they sound like a good product. I don't know anything about it, but it sounds like it works. And it works. I went and put money in it and they let me use it. And, you know, you got to understand that when you see these paid promotions, not all the time is the person out to get you or scam you. Okay. But when someone that should know better is out to scam you, then you should know. And that's fine if you're their fans or whatever. You know, I've gotten hate and everything from thank you to hate. But my object here is to bring you the facts and to bring you what this really is. Okay. Not somebody saying, hey, I talked to the dollar app guys and they said it's okay. And well, yeah, the dollar app guys are going to tell you it's okay. What financial condition they're in, I have no idea, but you need to understand the other thing with these fintech apps is they're all getting in at the same time. This is kind of like the .com boom. Fintech is becoming the new thing. Give a credit card, give a secured credit card. There's a lot of people with busted credit. And the thing with Kobe AI is they kind of advertise it as, well, we'll give you a U.S. deposit account or you can deposit your money in the U.S., and actually, Denise, I just finished telling you who's behind Wise, and I'll actually talk about Wise too. But if you, they advertise that you can get your money into take U.S. deposits, like your paycheck or whatever, or your Social Security check, and then they'll give you your credit card or a debit card. I don't know if it's a credit card or a debit card because it's not really clear. And you spend in pesos, but what they don't tell you is it's just a Visa card or a MasterCard. I think it's a MasterCard. But what they don't tell you is that MasterCard, In Mexico, you can pay. I use my American credit cards here, and I use my debit card. I use my Charles Schwab here. So I use my Charles Schwab account here. So debit cards and credit cards can be used across borders. Now, you might get charged extra fees or whatever. But if I try to use an American credit card, for example, to pay CFE, and I know that people have experienced this with the Wise also. Denise, this goes to you. I'm going to put your question up on the board here. I know that Wise, some water companies or depending cities don't take a payment for your water unless it's a Mexican bank. So you need to get a Mexican debit card or a Mexican credit card if you want to pay that way. Other ways are you can go to the OXXO and pay your bill. You don't have to have a credit card. But that's where it's also misleading. That, yeah, it's basically a MasterCard you can use. You can use it in the United States as a Visa, okay? So there's nothing new about this. It's like you going out and getting a credit card anywhere else. Now, for some people, if they don't have the credit or whatever to get a credit card, maybe this is an option. But if it's a secured credit card based on a balance in this app, then you need to think about it, because if you put $1,000, so you have $1,000 handy to pay the credit card, then you let me see. Actually, actually, I pay utilities with a Mercado Pago debit card. Yeah, and that's actually. Let me get to your first question, Denise, and let's get to questions, because I gave you an overview. This is how they work. That's why they're risky. And I'm not really going to harp on these apps. Maybe I'll harp on it again if more apps come out. But, and I'm not going to harp on the dollar app. And I've already put out all that information. And all of these decisions are up to you. But you said, do you know who is behind Wise? I use them all the time. But it's not FDI insured either. Yes, Denise. Actually, Wise is a company out of the UK. The thing that I did discover is, and I did a video on it, is that Evolve Bank, which had the data breach, was part of Wise at one time. They were the bank. They were the bank providing services. But I did receive an email. Wise was very responsible about it. Wise actually sent me an email back saying that if you had an account between, I think, I have to go back to the video. I don't have, my memory's going little by little as I'm getting older. And basically, they had a major data breach lately, but Wise only used them between 2021 or 2022. They used them a while back. So they said, if you had an account, but we didn't share any passwords, you didn't lose any personal data. Now you may have lost your banking data because they had your banking data. They are not FDIC insured. They're the same thing. They're a Fintech app. The only thing that I use Wise, but I also found out that the same savings and loan, the same community trust bank that Kobe AI uses, not Kobe, Dollar App uses now, has had some issues in the past. I don't know if they still have issues, but I haven't had any issues with Wise. But yeah, you need to be very careful with transferring money, even with Wise, because your money is not insured. The only reason why I say, because Wise is technically a Fintech app, the only reason why I kind of just say, okay, use Wise, because Wise actually has gone through several years, many years of doing this. Okay. It's not a startup. It's not a startup like Kobe AI or Dollar App. Not only that, I think Wise has even had some issues. I'm not talking about issues but issues with regulatory issues with different governments, including the United States. And they've come up to date with those regulatory issues. So they've been responsible. Okay. I had a couple of influencers reach out to me about Kobe AI and ask me what I thought. And my answer to them is, and this is my honest answer, is, well, come back and talk to me in 5 or 6 years when they have a track record like Wise. Then I can say, okay, they're safe. The other thing you need to understand about fintech companies is right now, Wise is already operating off of cash flow. In other words, they've already gained their customers. They have people. As a matter of fact, Wise has had to increase their fees for different reasons, for different bank transaction fees, because they have to come up with compliance. They've actually tripped already. How would I say? They've already tripped and fallen, and they've been able to get up. Okay. The problem with a lot of these fintech companies is for example, Koba AI, they're working on investor money right now. Most of these fintech apps work on a negative cash flow. They have investor money that they're using to get the customers to make the positive cash flow. It usually takes them anywhere from 2, 3 to 5 years to actually start making money. Okay. They're burning up investor funds right now. Okay. The problem is what happens if an investor pulls out? What happens if the investor says no more money for you? What happens if they spend all the money tomorrow that the investor gave them? Then you, the customer, are the one that's out the money. That's where I'm trying to get at. Dollar App's the same way. The only thing with Dollar App is it's a little bit different in that they use cryptocurrency, so that you have another factor in there. Not only can they fail tomorrow because of all of these things, and they've already shown irresponsibility with Synapse, and they've already shown irresponsibility with Evolve Bank, and then they went with a bank that Community Trust that has all sorts of issues also. So those are red flags. What we call in the business red flags. Doesn't mean that we used to use it when we were talking about criminals. This person has a red flag. He's more than likely this, or this, because there's a red flag here, here, and here. Does that mean that person's a criminal? No, but they have these red flags that indicate more than likely. Okay. So that's why I try to warn people about using these apps. You have the main names in the industry is Wise, Remitly, and XE. Okay. And you got to understand that these are fintech apps. If Wise goes down tomorrow and you're in the middle of a transfer and they go bankrupt tomorrow, you're out your money. And that is the truth. And I do understand you need to get money from the United States to your Mexican bank account, but maybe you might want to change your strategy in using, okay, I'm only going to transfer $500 at a time or $1,000 at a time, something that you're okay with. Now, here's the other thing about Wise. They've been really good. They've changed their system. I do Wise transfers right now, and within, I'm not kidding you, literally they're instant. They're already in my Mexican bank account. I've had several that Wise will say, hey, don't, it'll take a little bit longer, but they've been consistent. That's what's the most important part. The Dollar App, there's been a lot of complaints about taking a week to get the money in their account, and they've had all sorts of issues. That's where you need to look at. But yes, Wise is a fintech app also. I'm not going to paint it in pretty pictures. But one thing that I think everybody needs to look at in this world of debit, of quick debit cards and fintech and apps, just like, I don't know, there was an app called Robinhood where you could save your pennies and cents. It became the bomb. I've never heard of I don't even know whatever happened to Robinhood. I don't know if they still exist, but we need to get away from going with the social trends, and we need to make some smart decisions, especially when you're in a foreign country. I pay my bills with a Mercado Pago debit card, JPay, CFE, and Telmex. I'll take it. Yes. And actually there's hey, Gringos Are Us. How are y'all? The Mercado Pago card, Claro Pay. I think there's another one called Claro Pay. There's Oxxo has a spin card. Those are all cash cards and they're debit cards, and they're actually linked to Mexican banks. So that's why you're able to pay them, Denise. But if I were to take my Marriott Visa card, and actually I've tried, and that's how I found out. I'm I'm not doing this because I know, I'm not telling you this because I have some inside information. No, what happened, and I'll tell you my experience. We, when we were in Monterrey, we actually, we didn't pay attention to, see, the thing with the electric company, CFE will cut you off. If they say you need to pay by August 26th by August 26th, when August 26th turns into August 27th at midnight, they cut your electricity off. I mean, it's like, no, the water's a little bit more forgiving. Well, one day I kept saying, I need to pay the bill. I need to pay the bill. I need to pay the bill. And I hadn't transferred any money into my Mexican account, and I got lazy, and I said, oh, you know what? And it just happened that I told my wife, hey, we need to pay the CFB bill. I'm going to transfer some money, but I need to see how much it is. So I go down and I look in the app. I have the phone app. I look in the app and it says it's due today. And it was like 4 o'clock and 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So my wife and I said, let's run to CFE, because the problem with paying at the OXXO, sometimes it doesn't post to the next day, and it might not post to the next day. And I didn't have the cash to pay at the OXXO. So we ran to the CFE. It was real close to our house. And they had these little machines, these teller machines. They had a teller and then they had the machines. And it's like an ATM machine where you put in your account number and you can pay your CFE bill. And I go and I'm thinking, hey, I'm just going to put it on the credit card because I haven't transferred any money into my, and I have a Mexican credit card, and that's how we ended up paying. But I put my American credit card in there, and I'm sorry, try again later. And I'm thinking, what happened? A payment denied. And I was like, what happened? So we're running around. I take out another credit card. I'm like thinking, oh, they're blocking my credit card. Pull out another credit card, nothing. So I said, shoot. And the guy that was sitting there's like an attendant, and we have some great CFE stories. The attendant goes in and says, you're American, right? Is that an American credit card? And I said, yeah, it is. Our debit card too. I tried the debit card. He says, the machine doesn't accept American debit cards or credit cards. It has to be from an American bank. Hey, Jesse, how's it going? So what did I do? I ended up, and actually the only reason why it was the last resort, and I should have done it to begin with, I have a BBVA credit card that was issued to me, and we pay it off at the end of the month, because it's not only 20%, but it's 20% a month, not 20% a year. So you'll never pay it off if you ever put it on and try to pay on payments. So we pay it off at the end of the month, and then we only use it for gas, I think it is. And I'm actually lately been using it for the CFE bill. I put the Mexican credit card in there, boom, worked perfectly. We were able to pay it. That's how I know. And actually, then I was told by the CFE people, because the people at the window, the guard told us, and we went to the window, and then we actually asked them more details. And they said, no, it has to be from a Mexican issued bank. So even if Wise, and I think Gringos R Us said your Wise card didn't work everywhere, if I'm not mistaken. These credit cards that are actually issued by Fintech companies, which Wise is one, most of them use a service, and actually they use different services, but the Dollar app uses Paymentology. I haven't really looked into who the Wise uses, but they have a partnership with Visa. It's not with a bank, it's with Visa. Okay. So it's like using a Visa card. Now you might say, because Dollar app says it's a Mexican credit card. It's a Mexican credit card. It's a Mexican credit card in the sense that it's a Visa from Mexico, or in the issuing country is Mexico, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's from a Mexican bank. So it needs to be from a Mexican bank. Maybe Dollar app has some type of Mexican bank behind the Visa card. I don't think so, because of Paymentology, if anybody has ever used Dollar app, I don't think any of my viewers have, because they've heeded my warnings. But so that's what you need to understand. Even Wise, that is correct. We have been denied using Wise in a few places. And those few places are probably places that will only take national credit cards, or sometimes if it's a debit card, it depends on what it's classified as too. I don't know what the Wise card. I've never used it, to be honest with you. Hey Ernie, it's good to hear someone talk who is knowledgeable in this area. Does the fact that U.S. brokerages are not FDIC insured ever give you heartburn? Heartburn. You know what, Jesse? A brokerage firm like Charles Schwab, they've been around for years. Goes back to what I'm telling you about using Wise versus using the Dollar app versus using Coba AI. I mean, brokerage firms, I'll tell you what, someone like Charles Schwab or like, what's the other one in the United States? The real famous one, Merrill Lynch. Some of those, Goldman Sachs, Goldman Sachs is more of a bank, but they have an investment portfolio. But Merrill Lynch, Charles Schwab, these are people that have been around for 30, 40, 50 years, okay? So that's why I would say, okay, cool. I don't have heartburn because they have enough operating capital, and I'm good with a Charles Schwab card. The other thing is, too, with Charles Schwab, I only put a portion of my pension in there. We use it for groceries because Charles Schwab is really good debit card because I don't have to pay any fees, transaction fees, and they pretty much give me the exchange rate. So I use them for that. And also I'm still in the trying it out phase. I actually have a traditional bank where my money is FDIC insured. So I hope that answers your question. And it all goes back to even using Wise. Like I was saying, Wise is fintech, but Wise has been around. Wise has already gone through all the headaches of all the regulatory issues. Wise has already been, as a matter of fact, I know some people, some banks can't receive Wise transfers because they haven't, the bank, actually it's on the bank side. It's not on Wise's side. But they've already had all of those headaches. They've already made it. They've already made it past that spending all the investors' money. Coba AI hasn't. Dollar app hasn't. So if the money runs out, and these fintech firms are just like the .com. When the internet became real big, everybody was there. And I'm not kidding you. People were making apps that made no money or websites that made no money. And people would say, how is this there's no money being made here. How is this sustainable? And these people would open up offices in big office spaces, and they were paying their employees hundreds and thousands of dollars. And then, of course, what happens? There was no product to be purchased. There was no product to be consumed. There was no revenue. And then all of a sudden, boom, the bubble burst. And everybody, from one day to the next, there were guys driving around in Ferraris that had to give it back because it just went boom. Ginos would know which ones. Let me see here. Denise. I couldn't even get a CFE machine to accept my Citibanamex card. The guy at the front just shrugged. I ran to the ATM, got cash, and came back, and then the machine would take my cash. LOL. You know what, Denise? I've had that issue. I'll tell you what. I've had that issue with Mexican credit cards, U.S. credit cards, and even trying to pay my my Telcel. Believe it or not, Telcel, in the Meet Telcel app, accepts U.S. credit cards. And so I use it to pay. My debit card actually is what I use to pay. And half the time it works, half the time it doesn't. Then I go to use my Mexican debit card, and then I can't use that. Then I have to go use a Mexican credit card because I have to use 4 different cards before the app will take it. I don't know what's going on. Sometimes I even say it's the hardest thing to pay bills here in Mexico online. And I think it's just the culture that everything's been cash. Oh, one of the auto motels, when you were traveling. Yeah. Actually, that's what I tell people. It's truly there is really no rhyme or reason. I just have multiple payment options ready. And Denise, that is a good thing to do, is have multiple payment options ready. I use a credit card. My U.S. credit cards are all from credit card company. I think Capital One's, actually, Gringos R Us, you were bringing that up yesterday when I did my surprise live. Capital One has a really great, actually, I think they even do banking services too. And you can get a debit card from them if you open up an account. These are more safe ways of doing it. Charles Schwab, yeah, your money's not FDIC insured, but then I know it's an investment company. Yes, there's more chance that Charles Schwab is going to go under if the stock market crashes, but I'm almost sure the banks will probably do that. And also, your money is FDIC insured with the banks. So, Capital One does offer, and so does Chase. Chase offers, and they have yes, they are now offering checking services. And that's one way to go too, because you can get and I know Capital One doesn't charge you international transaction fees. They give you the going rate, peso exchange rate. So these are kind of options that you can go through to get and Chase. I think you need to have a Sapphire level card, if I'm not mistaken, to get the no annual fees. No annual fees, no foreign transaction fees. It says here, Denise, you always have a plan, then a backup plan, because the plan is going to go sideways. Then what you really do, because it's all going to catch fire. Best life advice I ever got. Yeah, exactly. That's what I always talk about. And I always talk about that. Actually, Jesse, you brought up a great point. I always talk about a plan B. Always have a plan B. I always talk about this more with immigration. Having a plan B, like those people that run to the border every 6 months or whatever. What happens if you don't get let back in? Have a plan B. Have friends that you know that if you leave your stuff behind at your apartment you're renting, that they can, get you your stuff back. Always have a plan B, or what's going to happen if I don't get my 6 months. So that also applies to this fintech stuff. Maybe you want to use the Dollar app, or you want to use Koba AI. I don't have anything against these apps. I just need people to know the risk. The problem with these apps is they're very misleading. Okay. The Koba AI is telling you got it. It's basically trying to tell you got a Mexican bank and your money's FDIC insured. Yeah, but they're not telling you how it's FDIC insured. And really, to be honest with you, it's not insured at all for you. Maybe it is for the bank, but those deposits. So what happens is you get this, or you have an influencer come out and say, this is the best way to do it. And because so many people follow you and trust you, then they're going to go do it. And also remember, they're making money not just off of making the video. They're making the money every time you click and sign up with their link. And then I want to support my favorite creator. And then you go and you sign up for it because I'm going to use the app anyway. And you sign up for the app only to get, for it to come back to bite you. And here's the problem. Some of these creators, they take these ads, or they take these paid sponsorships. And I'll be honest with you. I don't think not one creator, not one that has Kobe, most of the people that reached out to me said, no, I'm not gonna have anything to do with it. Maybe later. Like I always said, maybe later. And then, no, hold on, let me see. But so the Kobe AI, like I said, the influencer tells you, okay, this is the best app since sliced bread. I can guarantee you that not one, what I was trying to say before, not one single one of those influencers understands how these apps work, or maybe even understands the risk. I don't even think, as a matter of fact, funny thing is, I think Kuru Paul thinks I'm crazy, and probably even thinks it's safe because I've used it before, and it's safe because he doesn't know how it works. But I know how it works. I worked in the banking regulation. I worked in FinCEN. I know how anti-money laundering works. I know how all of these companies, some of these companies have gotten caught up in schemes, fraud schemes. We call them cash grabs, where they'll go. I worked many fraud cases. And the problem is, and people say, who are you to judge, and who are you? It's because I've seen the victims of these crimes. It's like me saying, don't go out and play in the street because you might get run over, because I've seen the accidents. I haven't, not myself, because I didn't work as a local cop. But you have to understand, when I've seen the victims, I've seen people go from being rich to being dirt poor because of these schemes, because of these cash grabs. Okay. I'm not saying that every single fintech company is into grabbing your cash, and they probably have the best intentions in mind. But also remember, anything can happen in this world. And here's the problem. Somebody like Amazon had a great idea, but Amazon is now the market leader. And anybody that tries to start another Amazon is not going to make it, because there's 20 million other people that are trying to piggyback on an idea that Amazon made famous. So that's what you really need to look at. And Gringos Are Us. When you move to Mexico, Jesse, it really becomes a true statement. We live by the mantra, plan your life, live your plan. Just remember to be flexible. Exactly. Gringos Are Us. As a matter of fact, I had lunch with somebody today. I was having lunch with somebody today, and I told him that's why most Americans move back. He was asking me about different stuff because they're looking at moving down to Mexico. Actually, was somebody I did a consult with, and I told you I was going to have lunch with one of my audience. And he was asking me, well, what do you think? And I said, one of the biggest things is being flexible, because you're going to have, because he was saying, how do you feel coming here and everything else? And I said, it's the best decision I ever made, but we were very frustrated at the beginning. We had a lot of hurdles to overcome, and now it's the best life I've ever lived, but you have to be flexible. I think Gringos Are Us brought that home. They don't care any. How does it affect their bank account is what matters to them. Yeah, I know. Gringos Are Us, they don't care. But unfortunately, it affects other people's bank accounts. And maybe I'm trying to be a crusader here. I'm not trying to do anything. I'm not trying to become famous, like I said. I'm just trying to make sure that you guys have the right information to make a true informed decision. That's what you need to be able to do. A true informed decision. That's what's important here. So, I mean, and it's with everything. We're not just talking about fintech or anything else. It's a true decision that you need to make that's informed. Actually, Gringos, fortunately you care, Ernie. That's what makes you special. Thank you very much, Gringos Are Us. And, I'm not looking to be special. The thing about it, people need to understand is I've been in this business for over, at 30 years. Actually, and the funny is when I punched out, I had exactly 30 years, actually, almost. Not almost, a little bit more, but because I started in like November or August. But I've seen the consequences of all of this, even the immigration consequences. I've seen families being broken up. I've seen all sorts of stuff. Now, I was not on the expat side of the immigration, but I worked with Mexican immigration. And then not only that, through my YouTube journey, I've seen people lose everything. And like I said, there's a couple that lost their van, $30,000 van, because of some bad advice. I don't think anybody here would like to lose a $30,000 van. And it's probably even worth more because it was one of those vans that was converted. It was like what do you call it? That's a new trend where people build out their vans and they go van life or whatever you call it. And that's what they were doing. Which credit card is Kai, which credit card is most accepted in Mexico? Anyone have any problems with Chase Sapphire preferred credit? I haven't, Kai. Literally, I haven't had glamping van yet. I haven't had an issue with Chase Sapphire. I have Chase Sapphire. And I have never had it. The only thing you need to you need to be kind of careful of, Kai, if you're using a U.S. credit card. The thing that you need to be careful about, and I've seen this happen at the terminals, and I've actually been a victim of it. When you put your credit card in, some terminals will say charge in U.S. dollars or charge in U.S. dollars or charge in Mexican pesos. Always say Mexican pesos because they give you the current rate. When they do to charge at U.S. dollars, they kind of rip you off by 1 or 2 pesos. By the it could be the difference between them giving you a 17-1 or a 20-1 or 19-1 exchange rate. And I'll even make sure because sometimes I got in the bill and it's like, what? Why is this being charged? And it's an American credit card. And the problem is a lot of waiters, when they see that little sign, oh, he's from the U.S., they just push the U.S., charging U.S. dollars. Some of them don't know any better. So that's one thing you have to make sure. Same thing with the banking ATMs and your debit card. Always decline the exchange rate that they offer you. Capital One had no problems. The only other thing, Kai, glamping van. That's what they call it, glamping van. The only thing too, and the Apple Card, Denise, actually, you have a point here. Actually, there's Mexit Plans? He actually uses the Apple Card, but what he promotes a lot of the time, because the Apple Card gives you cash back, and it gives you cash back not on an annual basis, but like on your weekly spending. And so you can save a little bit of money, and they give you the exchange rate, pretty much the exchange rate, pretty good exchange rate. The only thing is the Apple Card is they're high interest, and also because I have an Apple Card too, but I use the Apple Card, and here's the reason why I don't use the Apple Card is because like I buy my iPhones with the paid plan or whatever with a payment plan, and I don't want to mix regular funds with a payment plan. But the Apple Card is a good choice. Kai, I haven't had any problems with Delta, Amex, SkyMiles, Gold Card in Mexico, except INM will only take my Costco Visa card. And actually, Kai, the reason why I don't know if you've encountered this, Kai, in your trips to Mexico City, they'll ask you Visa, MasterCard. When you say, do you take a credit card? And they'll say Visa, MasterCard, or American Express. And some will say, and it's the same. I think in the United States, not everybody takes American Express. That will happen to you here. Yeah, every day. All I know is when I've used it, Denise, is I get this weekly spending report, and then your interest rate is 9%. Yeah, I have a higher interest rate. You do need an iPhone to set it up, and I have a higher interest rate, but I got it a long time ago, and they've never really lowered it, and I really never used it for purchases. I don't know if they lower your interest rate because I have a lot lower interest rates on my other cards, but I pay it off. You pay it off at the end of the month is a good deal and then you get your cash back, and you can put the cash back towards your balance. That's what's really great about the Apple Card. And so, any other questions? I'm running at an hour, and maybe I might be able to make it the actual hour on the hour. I'm at 58 minutes and 22 seconds. Okay. Actually, I'm going to wrap it up right now. I actually need to, I have the Apple Card only on my iPhone, but I only used it for a couple of years ago to buy a new tech. I have physical, I have the physical one that they send me when I signed up. And I have it on my iPhone. And actually, they do take Apple Pay here, Kai. Some of the terminals are already starting with if it has that little NFC thing. I've been very successful in using Apple Pay, actually, in some of the places that because they're actually starting to use contactless payments here in Mexico. My BBVA debit card and BBVA credit card actually have contactless payment. And actually, when they go to do that, sometimes I was like, "Oh, wait, you have contact? Let me pay here because I don't have my wallet with me or whatever." And I use Apple Pay. So Apple Pay is becoming more common, but also at the same time, most people won't. They'll be like, "We don't know what Apple Pay is." So it all depends. Good to hear you starting Apple Pay in Mexico. Yeah, they are. Isaac, I have a bank account with Acnivar. I have a debit Visa card, which I've had no problems with. What I really like is when you wire money, they keep it in dollars until a good exchange rate. Yeah, Isaac. Actually, I've heard very good things about Acnivar. They'll give you, and actually, I have a friend that has a money market account, kind of like a money market account where it gains interest, but you also have access to your funds, and he's getting a really good interest rate. The only thing is the one thing, then they are a bank in a sense. But one thing that you need to not worry, but just be not concerned. How would you say? Just be aware of with Acnivar. They're kind of like Charles Schwab. They're more of an investment firm than an actual a bank, but they actually work really good. I have nothing but I haven't used them. They're similar to Charles Schwab, yes. And actually, he explained it to me. They even, if you want to invest here, actually Acnivar is what I've actually suggested for people that want to look into investing here. He has an account where he says, okay, put money in bonds or whatever, or they'll offer him an account that I guess you might say, I forgot what the stock market calls them, where you invest in the S&P or whatever. And they have like funds that are saying, okay, we'll give you 11% or 12%. So he puts his money, okay, I'm going to put 200,000 into this. And then he gets his interest. And at the end of the year, they take out your taxes. They do everything for you. And then the only thing with Acnivar, they do charge a commission, but he still says, even with the commission, he's still ahead of anything that he can get in the United States. And I think Brighton, if anybody's interested in Acnivar, Brighton West, with Almost Retired in Mexico, did a full video, and actually he interviewed the people from Acnivar, and they talk about how they invest or whatever. But we've heard nothing but good vibes from them. We even have considered going to them as far as doing some investing. But like I said, 11%. Yep. 11% is what he's getting. Now, what my friend did say is you get 11% interest, and I guess at the end of the year they take out the taxes and then but they do it all for you. And he said he's still ahead, probably between 9 and 10% when it's all over with, because he has to pay the taxes and everything else. But I don't know anywhere else you're going to get 9% on a savings account. I think in the United States it's 2 or 3, maybe it went up to 4. Now that the high interest rates, but he said that it's a really great, and you can even put it in secure, like government bonds. They'll actually invest in the government, and right now the government bonds are going for 11.4 if you leave it in long enough, like CDs. It's sort of like investing in a CD, because you do it for 12 months, 24. It's like you can even do it for a month, 3 months, 12 months. And the more you leave it, the higher the interest rate. And Acnivar will actually do that for you. And they'll do all the taxes. Now they'll take their cut. So maybe it's 11% in their sense of, maybe your account made 11.5%, but they took the 5.5 as their commission, and then they pay the taxes for you. So it's a good deal. From what I understand. In Brighton, if you have any concerns or not how it works or whatever, and my friend was telling me, and maybe you can tell me, Isaac, 11% interest. If you can tell us, Isaac, it works like a regular bank account, from what I understand, debit card, everything. Jesse, how stable are these investments? Is there a Mexican version of the FDIC? Yes. Here's the thing with your investment. No, it depends what kind of investment. If Acnivar, if you tell them go invest in a high risk bonds and stocks that brings 20%, yeah, it's like going and investing in the S&P. If the S&P falls tomorrow, you lose money. But the 11% that I think Isaac's talking about is usually government bonds, and that's secured by the government. Okay. Now it is insured up to a certain, I don't know the amount that the government bonds are insured, But what you can do with the government bonds, yes, it's like a regular bank account. Yes. What you can do with government bonds is you can actually divide the government bonds into to the maximum amount. So it is insured in the government bond sense. Now, if you go with Agnivar with one of their more aggressive investment, because they are like Charles Schwab, you give them their money and they invest it for you. If you go into something other than bonds, then you could run some risk. But that's the same as if you went to Charles Schwab and said, put $100,000 in the S&P. If the S&P loses money, you lose money too. It works just like in the United States. The only difference is that what people need to understand about the high interest rates here, the reason why you can get 11% on your money, especially on government bonds, is because interest rates are super high here. Remember when I said a credit card is 20% a month? I'm throwing out a fictitious number here, but it's by the month, not by the year. And so when they're saying 11%, they're saying 11% a month, not 11% a year. And you're looking at almost 100% interest over a period of a year. And then if you look at, not many people hold mortgages here. And even the people that hold mortgages here, they usually pay 50% up front, plus the interest rates at a lot higher than anywhere else. So what I mean by anywhere else, like in the United States, it's not your conventional 30-year put $2,000 down or 4% down. No, it's like put 50% down and pay 15% interest a year, 15% APR on a mortgage. So if those interest rates are high, that happened in the United States. What happened when the interest rates started going up? Your bank account was 1% interest, a savings account was 1%, and then that went up to 5% or 4%. Okay, and then I think government bonds even went up to 6% or something to that effect. That's the effect of interest rates going up, lending rates going up. Okay, so lending rates are very high, and that's the other thing too. The Fed in the United States, what did they do to control inflation? They raised the interest rates. And Mexico already has the interest rates high, so they've been able to control inflation compared to now. Inflation's everywhere, so they've been able to control it better than the United States. Hey, Blaine, I'm just getting, yeah, you're going to have to catch me on the replay. I'm getting ready to sign off. And actually, Isaac was just giving us a little bit of insight into Agnivar. Okay, they hold an amount of, they hold an amount in savings in pesos. Then you transfer money to another account and use your Visa debit card. And they can park your dollars until it, yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what a friend of mine is doing right now. Yeah, it did fly by. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off. And Blaine, thank you for coming. And whatever you miss, I just explained how Fintech works, just to give a little bit of extra. It's hard to explain. And I like these live streams because I'm able to explain the videos a little bit more in detail, because it's hard in 7 minutes or 5 minutes to try to explain some of these topics that are very complex. I'm just before I go, working on a video. I'm going to try to get it out. Thank you, Jesse. And yeah, it did fly by, Stephanie. I'm going to try to get the video out this week. There's new, if you want to bring your dog back to the United States, there's new CDC regulations. I'm almost sure a lot of you have already heard of them. There have been some incidents of people that have been refused boarding on the airplanes here in Mexico because they didn't have the proper paperwork because of Mexican Airlines. We're not going to deal with sending the dog back or sending you back with your dog. But there are some new regulations. It's nothing. When they first came out, it sounded really bad, but it's not really that bad. All you have to do is fill out a form. The only catch to it, or the only hard part about it is you need to have a chip that's readable by a chip reader. Your dog needs to be chipped. So one of the things that's important is make sure you get your dog chipped. Most of the vets use, it's got to be an ISO standard because they got to be able to put the thing. They need to be able to put the chip into with the reader. They need to be able to read, and it takes a standard, I guess, protocol. But most of the vets have that chip, so you might need to get your pet chip before. And actually, the land borders are getting a little bit more strict. I know in San Diego, CBP has already been telling people. I think they've been kind of giving them since August 1st or before August 1st. They were telling you, hey, you're coming with your dog. Next time you come, you're going to need a chip. You're going to need a form. And it's just a form you fill out online, literally. And then actually you put in the chip number, you fill out the form, and you say, I'm bringing my dog in. And Mexico, luckily, is not a rabies, and then your dog also has to be at least 6 months old, and is not a dangerous rabies, because if it comes from a country that high risk for rabies, then you have to do a bunch of other stuff. But Mexico isn't. So it's a pretty easy process, and I'm going to try to boil it down in a couple of minutes, and hopefully I'll get it out this week, because next week I'm going to be pretty busy. I'm going to be on the road Saturday, and then we head. We'll be a week in Monterrey, and then a week in Merida. So, and then actually, Blaine, the very good question: when's my next plan live? I would say next Sunday. The only problem is next Sunday I'll be actually in McAllen, Texas, probably. I think I have to look at my calendar, but I'm hoping that. Maybe if I get the video out on the pet stuff, I'll do it on Friday. Saturday, I'm going to be on the road. And then the following week, I might be offline for a little while. But what I do plan to do is some surprise lives. Thank you, Isaac. I do plan to do some surprise lives. And I hopefully ask your wife. That is how you... ask your wife. That is how I know what I'm doing. Exactly, Gregos or us. She's the one that's better at the schedule than I am. So, no, but Blaine, I'm going to try to get as much live streams in, even if I'm coming from Monterrey, surprise. If I can plan some, I'm going to plan some. I'm going to try out some new software on the iPad where I can actually maybe even schedule some live streams. I'm using the other software that I used yesterday is the one that I usually use for the iPad, but it's a little bit harder to schedule the streams. So that's why I use, because it's more for mobile stream now type of platform. But hopefully, Blaine, I'll have some scheduled streams, so it'll be a little bit better. I know it's hard to catch me on my surprises, but I like to surprise live streams, and I like to keep them to 30 minutes. People can ask questions. I can tell them where I'm at. You can kind of see what I'm doing in my personal life. And then not only that, but people can watch it later. And it's 30 minutes, not an hour like this one. So hopefully I'll get some out, and I won't be off too much. So we're using Restream. Works very well. Yeah, I've already got a subscription to this platform here that I'm using right now, and there's some new iPad software because I'm not going to be really having my laptop with me, but hopefully. And then I got right as soon as I get back from Merida, I have to take care of my son for 2 weeks, so we'll see what happens. But I'll keep you guys informed and let you know. And thanks a lot for everything. I went over by 13 minutes, but it just saying goodbye. But you guys, like I said, stay safe. As always, stay safe and stay informed. And until next time, and the next time is probably going to be a surprise, we'll see you soon.